Hello there, Leena. Okay, thanks for getting your work. Thanks for getting another pack. That's super. Love working with students who are keen on improving. So the given graph compares the number of VW owners in England and Scotland from 1990 to 1998. Good. Let's put these together, eh? There we go. Overall, more sales were recorded was made in... Okay. Overall, more sales were made in Scotland than in England throughout the whole span of the chart. Okay, in the first half of the 90s, sales in Scotland dominated in all years from 1990 to 1994. It started with a huge gap between two regions in which the sales in Scotland were 6 times higher than the sales recorded in Scotland were 6 times higher than in England in 1990. Okay? That's how we should have phrased that sentence. Sales in Scotland dropped by 150,000 in 1991 and gradually increased again until 1994 when it recovered to be the same as in 1990. Okay? While sales in England started to decrease from 1990 and recorded only 1/3 of 1990 and 1994. Okay. While sales in England started to decrease from 1990 and only recorded 1/3 of the levels in 1990 in 1994. So I would have put here, and in 1994 only recorded 1/3 of the levels of 1990. Okay? It's just a bit easier to read and follow then. But apart from that, it's a good paragraph. In the second half of the 90s, sales in England reached their lowest at less than 30,000. Good. In 1995. Okay, so we've already got a reference here. So we don't need to put that there, because it gets a bit confusing. So, comma. And then we delete this. We just put a comma instead, and then we say, and the total sales also reached the lowest in this year. Good. Sales in England began drastically increasing from, I think sounds better, 1996 and reached their highest in 1997, which is 5 times more than its lowest in 1995. Good. In Scotland, on the other hand, it dropped under 150,000 in 1997 and 1998. Sales in England caught up with Scotland in 1997, and this trend remained until 1998. Okay, good work then. Good work. I would have liked to see you use respectively, yeah? But overall, this is a good part 1. So, have a look at some sample task 1 written essays as well. And what I would recommend you do, Leena, is you look at the sentence, read it, cover it, and then write it from memory. Okay? And do this with quite a few task 1 sample essays, and you'll soon quickly learn the structures you need. Okay? Let's have a look at task 2. As the world has been more connected than ever, global capital markets. Okay, because I'm going to change it to plural because we didn't put an article at the beginning. We can say global capital markets have expanded into very sophisticated forms, and there has been more chance for capitalists to intervene in one country's democracy. Great start. Good point. I agree with this argument in the sense that the ones with economic power began performing more control in the government than those who don't have. Okay, we cannot use contractions in academic essays. Okay, be careful about that. Be very careful. The first reason is that large corporations' sales conditions are very dependent on economic laws that Congress adjudicates. Good. The range of conditions that corporations are in favour of varies from mere national tax regulation to international trade, such as the export law of a country. The government is keener to adjust the regulations to what... So hedging here. The government is often keener to adjust the regulations to what corporations need, rather than what individual electorates need, as the sales of these corporations are also linked to national GDP. Okay, good work though, but be careful. Try to use the structure you have in your online course, the sentence guide, because that structure is very useful because we can make your argument stronger by giving real-world examples and also by keeping the paragraphs more cohesive. Following the above reason, okay, it's better not to start like this. This is a new paragraph. Okay, if we're going to continue to talk about the above reason, we put it here, at the end here. Okay, but this is a new paragraph, so we should really just put something like, the second reason is the corruption and collusion between government and corporations in order to create favourable conditions for large corporations. In 2016, there was a huge social movement in my country, South Korea. No, there was a huge social movement in South Korea on impeachment of the previous president, Mr. Park, who was accused of receiving huge amounts of bribes from large corporations including Samsung and LG. As a consequence, Park was sentenced to go to prison for 16 years, as well as the vice president of Samsung. As long as there is the possibility of collusion between government and capital markets, government can hardly reflect an individual electorate's needs. Very sharp point. Very good there. Impressed. So this is what kind of paragraphs I would prefer to see, with real-world, solid examples and irrefutable evidence, just like you did here. So that's excellent. Democracy has been threatened, its fairness and equality of opportunities for a long time, but now we have entered a new phase that needs a solution from a different angle. Certain endeavours on dissolving the connection between government and global capital markets should be practiced as a priority. Excellent work there. Very impressed, Leena. What I would consider doing is reviewing your online course because I think it would definitely benefit you. You can have a look at the paragraph structures there. You can have a look at the advanced chapters and start incorporating it again into your work. Okay? Your essays are very good. You've got some excellent vocabulary. Just be careful with some of the grammar mistakes that I mentioned. Now, what I want you to do is implement all the corrections that you've heard. Send me back your corrected essays. Make a list of the mistakes. Write 2 new essays. Check those 2 new essays for the mistakes that you've made previously. Also do the sample essay task of look, cover, write, as I mentioned at the beginning. And once you've done all that, send me your new essays, self-corrected by you first, and we'll carry on improving. Also send me these essays corrected and your error list. Okay, Leena, you're doing really well, and I want you to just carry on improving.